Hello and welcome to our next module. In this module we'll be discussing jurisdiction. So let's go and get started. So jurisdiction, right now we're really talking about in this module the jurisdiction of the judiciary or the judicial branch to hear a case. This is state, local, federal. But in general, first of all, we have just jurisdiction generically, the authority of the court to hear a case. You have a lot of different courts out there, but in general, not all courts can hear all cases, right? Original jurisdiction, the authority of a court to hear a case in the first instance. In the first instance is just a fancy way of saying hearing it for the first time. On the federal level, we typically think of district court as the court with original jurisdiction. All cases typically start there. On the state level, we look at the Superior Court as the court with original jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction, the authority to hear a case on appeal from a lower court. This would be any appellate court out there. And one thing to keep in mind, on the state and federal level, there are different courts out there, but in general, generically, we think of it as a three-tier structure when we discuss it and study it. We have an original jurisdiction, superior district court, then some sort of appellate intermediate court, then either state or federal Supreme Court. So appellate jurisdiction is just the authority to hear a case on appeal from a lower court. Now, one thing about it when it comes to this, just to call this out, the Supreme Court has original and appellate jurisdiction. For the most part, the Supreme Court engages in appellate, but as we discussed in the previous module, in certain circumstances, the Supreme Court does have original jurisdiction. For example, if one state sues another. Now, in terms of federal jurisdiction, a lot of this is outlined in Article 3, Section 2, but federal jurisdiction is far more limited than state jurisdiction. All right, we don't necessarily think of it that way in many cases, but it is the case. So when it comes to federal jurisdiction, it really boils down to one of two areas to define it. First, subject matter. If the issue is related to the U.S. Constitution, federal laws, treaties, or admiralty and maritime cases. If it's related to that in any way, shape, or form, boom, federal jurisdiction. All right? Or the nature of the parties. Cases involving ambassadors, public ministers, and consuls, and all this straight out of the Constitution. Cases where the U.S. is a party. Disputes between two or more states. Or disputes between citizens of different states. So just to recap here, that jurisdiction, and at some point in the subsequent module, we'll discuss Marbury versus Madison. But that was a case that really hinged on the concept of jurisdiction. But it comes down to original appellate jurisdiction, and then in terms of the federal jurisdiction, for the federal courts to be able to hear a case, does it meet one of these two criteria, the nature of the subject or the nature of the parties? With that, that's the end of this module. As always, go back and review as necessary. And with that, we will pick it up in the next module. Thank you.